I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people who have not kept them.
Hello, everybody. It's your Uncle Jim, and welcome to Kidney Stories. Hey, tonight I've got something special for you. I've got our good friend Josh Tannen who's going to be on tonight. Josh Tannen is a long-time kidney warrior. We're talking about a guy that's been on dialysis over 21 years, and he's been waiting for a transplant for 8, and he has a very cool kidney story to tell us tonight. So let's bring Josh on, and we'll get started. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for having me on, Jim.
Oh, no worries. Happy to do it. Happy to do it, my friend. Listen, give us your full name, okay?
Joshua Tannen.
And what is your date of birth, Josh?
December 27th, 1987.
Okay, and right now, as I understand it, you're living in Florida, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and you live with your mom, that's the lady in the background?
Yes.
Your mom's name is Karen?
Correct.
All right, so we can all say hi to Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, all.
All right.
She's shy.
So, all right, so Josh, I hear that you're currently on dialysis, is that right?
Correct.
All right, and what type of dialysis do you do?
Peritoneal.
All right, and how long have you been on dialysis?
Well, I've been on dialysis for the last 8.5 years. First, I started on hemo, which was really rough because I would always get headaches. Sometimes I get lightheadedness and all that. It was very rough to be on hemo. And then I ended up starting on PD in January of 2012, which thankfully went a lot better. Unfortunately, I had to get my transplanted kidney removed back at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix a few years ago because there was a tumor on there. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I had to do hemo after that for a little while because they had to take that catheter out.
Okay. Tell us, Josh, how did you get started with kidney disease? I understand you were very young at the time. How did it happen that the kidneys initially failed?
Mom, do you want to?
Go ahead. You were young, 14.
I was probably 14 years old. I ended up in the hospital.
You noticed like a lot of swelling?
I had a lot of swelling and all that all over my body, my face, my legs, everything was swollen. And I ended up being in the hospital, and they diagnosed me with glomerular nephritis.
Okay. And by my notes, I have that you were in the 5th grade at that time, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you had something called Legs, calves, purs disease, which essentially is some kind of an insult to the ball joint of your hip.
Yes.
Is that right? And the doctor that was taking care of you prescribed very large doses of Motrin.
Yes.
Right? And that contains stuff that's bad for your kidneys, right?
Correct.
Motrin, right.
As a matter of
And
fact, the pharmacist asked my mom at one point whether or not they were checking my kidney function.
That's when you were 5.
yeah,
You were 5 years old.
Yeah, that was earlier in my life. I
You were
guess
5.
it's,
yeah. Like I said, you've really been fighting with this a long time.
yeah,
A
almost
long
my
time.
whole life, it seems like.
And my notes tell me that you started dialysis in 2001 when you were in middle school. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. And you were on peritoneal to begin with, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Until
Now,
my
I
mom
have-
donated a kidney.
Oh, your mom's the best.
I know. She doesn't have any more kidneys to give me, though.
That's the problem. Right. Right.
But I was
No,
less than a year on dialysis, though, the first time before mom gave me her kidney. So,
the transplant. And I have that transplant date as June 16th, 2002. Is that correct, Josh?
yes, that is correct.
All right. And mom Karen was a live donor for you.
Yes.
And if I remember right, you had this done in Barnes in St. Louis. Is that right?
St. Louis Children's Hospital and Barnes are kind of in the same area. It's the same system. BJC it's called, but they're connected.
They're connected. Okay.
But St. Louis Children's Hospital that I had it at.
All right. And after your first kidney transplant, tell us what your life was like.
I felt great. I felt like my life was back to normal, except for taking the anti-rejection medications. But I was enjoying life, being able to go to the bathroom like a normal person and just live my life like there's no tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I got that second chance of life, and that really helped me, you know.
Right. And that went on for a period of like 10 years, Josh?
Just about 9.5 or so.
Okay. You even had a job at a grocery store. What did you do in the grocery?
I bagged groceries. I was called a courtesy clerk at the grocery store where I used to live in St. Louis.
Okay. Did you know my parents were in the grocery business, Josh? So I bagged a few groceries in my time too. So, so about 10 years of normal life. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And in May of 2011, you started having issues with your stomach. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I really couldn't keep anything down. I would try to eat rice and all that, and I ended up having to get a colonoscopy/endoscopy, and they really didn't see anything that was serious. They just gave me some, what was that called? Some over-the-counter thing, Imodium and some other thing to try to help with that.
Okay.
And what ended up happening was in May, I think it was, like every time I went to the bathroom, I'd lay on the ground because my stomach was hurting really bad. And at one point, mom just took me to the emergency room, and they did all kinds of tests, see if it was a virus or something that was an infection that was going on. But they really could not find anything. And it was thought from my dad that it was probably just stress.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stress too. And I went to visit my dad in St. Louis for a couple of weeks, went to a wedding dinner with some friends before I went home, and I was sick. Mm-hmm. And the worst part was right after I got back from St. Louis, I went on a trip to Dallas to see my friends. And there, despite all the fun I had, my stomach was hurting. I would have diarrhea. I would throw up. I was just miserable. I should not have gone on that trip because of feeling sick. And then when I got home, I had to get blood work done. And my doctor's office called, my nephrologist doctor's office called and said that I need to get some blood right away because my red blood count was low. That's the first of blood transfusions I got that summer. And eventually what happened was they ended up noticing that my labs were abnormal. And so they did a kidney biopsy, which determined that there was, in fact, rejection. So I think the stomach thing probably had something to do with infection or something, we think.
Okay. I have it in my notes that by November of 2011, you were back in the hospital. You had some routine blood work done, and almost as soon as you got home, they called you back and said that you had issues and you needed blood transfusion. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. A week later, you're back in
September,
the
I think.
hospital. Okay. You're back in a hospital with a kidney biopsy. And
That
that's
was
when
in summertime.
okay.
I was in the hospital in Panama City Beach when we were living in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Okay.
And I was in and out of the hospital a few times in St. Louis when I went to see my dad. I think it was in August or September is when I had to take a medical plane from Panama City Beach, Florida, back up to St. Louis and transferred to the hospital there.
Okay. What was the reason for that, Josh? Why did you have to go back to St. Louis?
I have no idea what was going on.
They had no idea what was going on. The nephrologist that I had in Panama City, they had no idea, why this was happening. So they were in touch with my center in St. Louis, and they were recommended that I go back up to St. Louis to their hospital so they can maybe figure out what was happening. So they arranged for me to get a medical plane. Mom went with me from Panama City to St. Louis, and I got an ambulance, head back, and they were working on what was going on when I got there.
Okay. Now, my notes tell me this happened around the Tuesday before Halloween. You started having trouble breathing. You were getting worse. You were coughing. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, I woke up having trouble breathing, and it was weird because one of the coordinators from Barnes called and said that they would like me to start dialysis because I guess the last blood work was showing that it was time to start. But my dad, because I was staying there, couldn't take me right away, but we said that we do it tomorrow. However, during the day, it got worse. I started coughing really hard, and by that night, I couldn't deal with it, so I ended up having to go to the emergency room. Now, my oxygen saturation level ended up being very low, and they put me on oxygen right away. And so what they ended up doing was they intubated me. Apparently, I found out what happened was that there was fluid in my lungs, and they had to drain it. That's why I was having trouble breathing that day. And I ended up probably being in a medically induced coma for a few days from that Tuesday late night to Friday morning when I woke up in the ICU.
Well, so as I understand it, it's a very good thing you went the evening that you did, because if you had waited till the morning, that wouldn't have been good news. Is that right?
Right. Probably would have been dead by the next morning. They apparently started me on dialysis when I was out. They started me on chemo again.
Tell us what happened when you woke up. Where were you?
I was in the ICU. I had no idea what happened. I could not remember anything after I went into the emergency room that Tuesday evening. And I found out that they had started me on dialysis and they put me to sleep, but I started getting more alert. And they still had the tube in my throat, so it was hard for me to really talk.
Sure.
But luckily they removed it. But the fact that I lost a few days because of that was amazing to me, that a few days went by, even though it didn't feel like that to me.
That's when you lost your kidney.
So
That's when you lost your kidney.
yeah, that's when I lost my kidney.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Josh. As I understand it, when they started you on dialysis, they started you on hemodialysis at that point in time, right?
Yes.
And how did you do on hemo?
Well, it was rough because that was my first time being on hemo and having that annoying chest catheter in my chest. What felt really weird. I mean, it didn't really hurt. It just felt a little annoying.
Okay. But you were on a hemodialysis from like October of 2011 until January of 2012. Is that correct, Josh?
Yes.
Things did not go well on hemo.
Right.
You were passing out.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why
I want to make sure I got the story straight. That's, important.
Yeah. That's why I asked my nephrologist at the time that I was seeing in my dialysis center if it would be okay to switch to PD, because I did PD the first time I was on dialysis, period, and it went a lot better for me, and I felt that it was probably better for me than hemo was.
Okay. As I understand it, you had a kidney evaluation at Barnes in December of 2011. Is that accurate, Josh? Okay.
Yeah.
And what happened as a result of that evaluation?
Well, the problem was they had a problem with my PTH level because I was taking Sensipar at the time, and the doctor there, he's probably the only doctor that I've heard felt that way, that there's a higher risk of rejection if you take Sensipar before transplant than people that don't. So it was pretty much, I was listed, but I was inactive the entire time I was there.
Okay, but you did get listed, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, one other thing I want people to know so they understand. You've mentioned your father a couple of times. Your dad tested for you in January of 2012. How did that test come out?
Well, he couldn't because I think his blood pressure was too high to really donate.
Okay, so he was not a good match for you.
Correct.
Okay. But you're back on PD as of January 2012, right?
Right.
Right. And you've been on PD ever since, correct?
No. Remember when I told you that they removed I had that nephrectomy in October of 2018, maybe, or 17?
Oh,
It
okay.
was because my transplanted kidney was enlarged, and they wanted to remove it with that tumor that they said I had in there. They wanted to get it out. So
Okay.
it was like really big. It was probably as big as a grapefruit.
Oh,
So
wow.
they had to do some CT scans to take a look at it. And so, I had to switch to hemo the week before the surgery, which was rough.
Okay.
It was.
You almost croaked that.
I almost died when that happened. And
Now
one
that's
time,
twice,
before
Josh,
they
by my
removed
count.
it, yeah, well, when they before they removed it, they had
Mayo. It was at Mayo.
at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, they told me that I was going to have to switch to hemo because they weren't sure they were going to be able to keep the PD catheter.
Okay.
And so I had, and before I got it out, my doctor, my nephrologist there, wasn't really helping me, but I was having some trouble, and I ended up having to get a thoracentesis to remove some fluid that I had in my lungs. Everything was messed up. My blood pressure was super high, so it was hard for my dialysis nurses to give me Epogen, and my heart took a hit, and everything was smushed to one side of my stomach. It caused all kinds of problems.
Wow.
So they had
You are a tough guy, Josh.
I know.
You are a tough guy.
And they
would it be fair for me to say that you've been on dialysis now for a period of 8 consecutive years?
Yes. Almost 9.
Almost 9.
About 8.5 or so.
October.
All right.
Be 9 in October this year.
All right. I have a note that tells me that after this issue where they did the lung thing and they put you back on PD in 2012, you had 2 more hospitalizations because of dehydration, low blood pressure, and high potassium. Is that all correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
I lived on my own in St. Louis, and I ended up having to get my old neighbor to come and call 911 and get me to the hospital because my blood pressure was so low. So I ended up being in the hospital for a few days.
Oh my.
Unfortunately, I was ridiculous in thinking that I should talk to my mom because she was in Florida and my dad was in the same area as me, sort of. So I should have talked to him about it. I don't know why. Maybe because my mom is used to dealing with those health issues for me. So.
Okay. Is this why you then moved back to Florida with your mother?
Yes.
All right. And I have you being listed at Shands in Gainesville at that time, right?
Yeah. The problem with that was it was 4.5 hours away, and I thought that was kind of far to go.
But
And
you didn't
actually
lose.
got
I'm
the
sorry.
call.
Go ahead.
I got the call for Shands one time before I actually moved to Phoenix, like a couple months before, maybe that August, and they said it was a high risk kidney because it was a 45-year-old drug overdose victim, and I didn't know whether or not I should accept it because of the high risk thing. So I talked to my dad and my mom, and I ultimately decided to decline because of the high risk.
Okay.
But my nephrologist there at the time said I should never do that. Never, ever decline a kidney offer, even if it's a high risk.
Well, that's truthfully, Josh, that's a decision between you and your family. And if that was the decision that you made, then it was the right decision. Okay?
Right. But the problem is my high sensitivity or my high sensitized thing. It's really not a good idea for me to do that because I don't know how long it's going to be before I would get another chance. So
well,
the best thing to do is always accept the offer.
I was going to say, I imagine that if you got an opportunity for a clean kidney without issues, you would probably take that, right?
Yes.
Okay. In September of 2014, I have you and your mom moving to Phoenix?
Yes.
Phoenix, Arizona. And you were listed with Mayo there?
Yes.
And then later back to Florida in Tampa General.
Correct.
Okay. And all this time you didn't lose time on the list, right? They counted all the time that you were listed from point A to point B.
When I told you that I had that nephrectomy back in Phoenix, they had to remove me from the list because they obviously thought that once I had the surgery, I would need some time to kind of recover and all that. And I noticed in Phoenix that the cardiologist there said that my heart got a little bit more weaker because of that nephrectomy, which, by the way, I had to go under the knife twice. Once for the real surgery, and then I guess they said I lost so much blood that they had to see what was going on. And I was out of it to the point where I think I was hallucinating and I was delusional, to the point where I accidentally hit my mom and another nurse because I was, going crazy. I was thinking I was in my room sleeping. This was just a dream that I was dealing with. So, yeah. In a way, I kind of lost my marbles, so to speak.
Right.
And so I kind of, before I got back on the list at Mayo, I was going to have to get a cardiology clearance, and because of that tumor from the that cancer doctor, to make sure that everything looked good. And then before we moved to Tampa, I actually got a stress test with one of the cardiologists there, and he said everything looked fine. So, and I got the okay from the other doctor, the one because of the tumor. Everything looked clear. Because they removed my right native kidney as well as my transplanted kidney. So they removed 2 kidneys.
Double nephrectomy.
And so when I went to the when I came here to Tampa General, my first evaluation when we were visiting looked like it went okay. And then they wanted me to see their cardiologist. And they wanted me to do a cardiac MRI.
Okay.
So I had to do that, and they noticed that my ejection fraction was like 21%, which was too low. And so they wanted to try to get me on some kind of life vest to try to help protect the heart. So we did this at an outside hospital, not Tampa General. And so we called the doctor who was responsible for reading the results, and he had me come into his office. They did a little echocardiogram, and the EF was fine, like 40 or 45%. So I couldn't understand why that one thing said this and the other thing said that. So I went to see another cardiologist at my transplant center, and he agreed to repeat it. And the EF with the repeat was a little bit better at 30, but too low for transplant. So I was denied that first time. So I ended up having to take some medication and see another cardiologist, and ended up having to get my heart strong enough and try again, which I did that year after, in which time I went on cruises and vacations to try to help with the stress and get my heart back to normal. And I was able to. They wanted 2 echocardiograms in 3 months, and they had to give me the okay as far as the cardiologist standpoint. And so when I got the okay, started again, and this time it worked out.
Good. So do you know approximately when you ended up getting listed at Tampa General?
I got listed in May of last year, but because of the UNOS rule about how long you've been on dialysis and all that, it's an equivalent to like 8.5 years or so.
Right.
And I'm a national priority because of my PRA being that high.
Excellent. Good. I'm sorry your PRA is that high, but I'm glad that you're a priority, Josh.
Right. I think it's because of my previous transplant and all the blood transfusions.
Definitely the blood transfusions did not help.
I wonder if they're going to do a plasmapheresis treatment when I get a kidney, because I know sometimes they do that. But I guess it's up to them if they want to use that procedure, but I don't know how often they do that.
Well, you'll have to stay in touch with us. Let us know so we can update, Josh.
Yeah.
Now, if the people wanted to donate to you, you have a transplant coordinator at Tampa General. So if they wanted to test for you, they could contact Patricia Hudson. That's the lady's name?
Yes.
And I have her email address at pmhudson@tgh.org. pmhudson@tgh.org. Does that sound like a correct email address, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. And
or they could go on tgh.com and try to get that form, because sometimes, as you know, on Facebook I will post a link to the form on the TGH Living Donor page.
Right. And just so everybody knows, after the broadcast, I'll put up all of Josh's information so you can contact his transplant coordinator. You can fill out the form online. I even have a couple of phone numbers, 800 numbers that you can call if you want to speak to somebody. The 2 numbers that I have, Josh, 813-844-5669. That's 813-844-5669 or 1-800-505-7769, 1-800-505-7769. Now, just so my audience knows, I know that most of the people that watch this are also kidney. Oh, thanks, Urban Health Media, putting that up for us, the 2 phone numbers. I know that most of you guys that watch us are kidney patients too. And I understand that you can't donate, but you can certainly share. So please share the broadcast. Please share Josh's information. Let's see if we can help our buddy out. Okay? All right. And you were telling me before the broadcast something about your experience with paired donation. What's going on with that, Josh?
So I posted on a group called Floridians Helping Floridians, and I posted that I need a kidney transplant on that group, and someone said that they were filling out the form, and that lady said that she talked to the center and they told her she was a little bit too old to donate to me directly. However, she did say that she was going to see if she can donate to someone older, but get me on the Parakidney list as well,
Okay.
which is something that I've been trying to get for a while, to try to get on the Parakidney list so I have a chance at a living donor that way.
Okay. So just so we explain to people, when we're talking about paired donation, that's a donor swap. In other words, you have a donor that doesn't match you, but your donor might match somebody else. That somebody else might have a donor that doesn't match them, but matches you. So in effect, you're swapping donors. That's what happens with paired donations. That your understanding, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. And as you know, friends of the show very well know, frequently that leads to a chain of donors. In other words, one swap leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and then we have a whole group of people that weren't able to get a kidney transplant that now all of a sudden are transplanted with compatible living donors. That's pretty cool, right, Josh?
Yes.
So now I've done some really bad math calculations, okay, because your Uncle Jim is bad at math.
I actually have a real Uncle Jim too, by the way. My dad's sister's husband. Because I know you like to call yourself Uncle Jim, and I just want to say I already have an Uncle Jim, but I guess I could have two Uncle Jims. I like that. But that's pretty cool that you do that. You're one cool dude, Jim.
Well, I had that advocacy name hung on me by the great advocate Bill Murray, who's not with us anymore.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it kind of stuck. So, you know, it's because I try so hard for other people that you know, they know I try to look after folks. So
it's hard that there's 20 people a day that die.
Yeah, it's too many.
Waiting, you know, I just wish we had more people to help out, you know, because people like me are in desperate need, and you know, it'd be nice if people just, you know, stepped up and helped out.
It would, definitely would. And when you think about it, Josh, there's 100,000 people waiting on that transplant list, and last year they converted 20,000. And they take on a number of people every day too. So it's tough waiting on that list. I've been on that list myself, and I waited 4 years for a transplant, but I do not have a kidney history like yours. I've been very, 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 very fortunate. So, but I have you dealing with kidney disease over 21 years now. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. So most of my life, practically.
Yeah.
I'm 32 years old, so.
Yeah, because you were in grade school when all of this started, and you're 32.
I actually had to be homeschooled for a little while.
Homeschool. Okay.
Yeah, I had a homeschool thing going on at home, and like she came and she would just do school with me because I wasn't actually going to school. I was just at home.
You were in a wheelchair.
I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk. Everything was swollen. I was mostly laying down on like a lounge chair in the living room at the house.
You couldn't even walk.
I couldn't even walk. It was just horrible what I went through in those days.
Wow, Josh.
How about the time we went to Tennessee? Where did we go? To Memphis?
Yeah, we went to Memphis and all that.
For your birthday.
For my birthday, we stayed at the Grand Ole Opry.
And what happened?
Oh.
So what happened? Remember, you went from you lost 15 pounds of fluid.
Yeah, I lost 15 pounds that time when I was there.
A fluid. That was your birthday present from Jesus.
Yeah.
That was on your birthday.
Ooh. So you have suffered quite a bit through this kidney disease period in your life, haven't you, Josh?
Oh yeah, both times.
All right. Is there anything I haven't asked you about or we haven't talked about tonight that you would like to tell everybody? Is there anything I've forgotten that you think is important? I want to mention,
I was watching this show, this PBS show called Nova. There was this thing called Nova, and it was called Transplanting Hope. It was kind of about transplants, and I thought that was kind of interesting. There was even a story which, like, a young, newborn baby needed a heart. So I guess even young kids or young babies still need transplants. So any age obviously has to get it. It's very sad. It was a very sad documentary, but it was about transplants.
I have a lot of friends that are moms of pediatric patients, and I know that that's difficult.
I just wish that people that said that they wanted to help would, step up and actually go through with it, because that's part of my problem. I get it out on Facebook and wherever else, and people say they want to help, but unfortunately they just don't follow through. And it hurts me because here I am trying to be hopeful that someone will help, and it ends up not working out.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about my story, Josh. In April of 2016, early in April, I had a sit-down visit with my pre-transplant doctor, who was the head of all of the kidney transplant doctors at Indiana University at that time. And I have been waiting for 4 years. And he said to me, I think, Jim, it's going to be another year or two before this happens for you. It's not going to happen right away. And I was listed in 3 places. So I just went through a whole series of tests for all 3 places. Some of the tests, all 3 accepted. There was one place in Chicago, Rush Medical. They did all their own tests. They accepted nobody else's tests. So some of the tests I had to go through twice. At any rate, on the 26th of April, the same month, same year, I got a call from my pre-transplant coordinator. And she said to me, "We have a kidney for you. Can you get down here tomorrow?" Josh, I thought she was kidding with me. Seriously, I did, because of what the transplant surgeon had told me. So we were going back and forth, and she said, "No, Jim, we're serious. We need you down here tomorrow. We have a kidney for you. Please come." And you know how it is as a transplant patients, our bag is already packed, right? So we're ready to go. So the point of the story that I'm telling you, Josh, is that sometimes when you least expect it, sometimes when you think to yourself, this is going to be a while, sometimes when you just kind of put it out of your mind, that's when it happens. In a lot of my experiences with myself and with other people, sometimes it happens when you least expect it. So my remark to you, what I want to say to you tonight is, I never want you to give up.
I never give up.
That up, baby.
I had a Facebook post, like, when was it? Maybe earlier this week, that said, "I'm never going to give up. I'm going to fight until I get that kidney."
Data, baby. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. That's
told me that
what I want you to do.
Been inspiring to them because of how positive I always seem in my posts.
I think you are. I think you are.
And I can thank my mom for helping me, because she's the best. I'm very lucky to have her, very blessed to have her in my life, helping me and being there for me while I'm dealing with all this stuff.
You've been very fortunate, Josh, and your mom, we're not worthy. We're just not worthy. What a great mom. Very fortunate. Karen takes excellent care of you.
Ever since I was born.
And that's great. Is there anything else that I didn't talk about that you want to discuss?
Just, I hope that people keep sharing for me, and people will fill out the form, and maybe if they're not a direct match, still maybe help me with the pear kidney thing. I could use as much help with that as I can. And that, despite the fact that I'm going through all this, I've never given up. I'm really excited to get a kidney whenever that happens. And Everyone else out there that's still waiting, just don't give up. Your time and my time will come. Stay strong. Have a good support system. Keep fighting.
All right, that's my man Josh. I'm going to let you go then, buddy. I appreciate you taking time to come on and tell us your story, okay?
Thank you very much, Jim, for this interview. I had fun.
Great, great. And I promise I'm going to spread this around for you a little bit, all right? You don't mind if I do that?
No, not at all.
All right. You and your mom, you have a good night and take care, and please keep your Uncle Jim updated what's going on, okay?
I will.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy 4th. Stay safe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good 4th. Stay safe. All right. So I just wanted to say again, that's my friend Josh. Josh has been dealing with kidney disease for 20 plus years. He's been dealing lately with dialysis for 8 straight years. Again, he is listed at Tampa General in Florida. His transplant coordinator is Patricia Hudson, Hudson. Her email is pmhudson@tgh.org. There is a link. I'm going to publish the link that you can click on. You can fill out a form to donate, and they'll contact you. Also, if you want to call, there are 2 phone numbers there that will get you to the transplant center at Tampa General. It's 813-844-5669. That's 813-844-5669, or 1-800-505-7769. The numbers that are on your screen now, those are the phone numbers. 1-800-505, thanks, Jared, 7769, for our friend Josh, his story is remarkable and has struggled so hard to be with us, and just a remarkable kidney story, and someone that is truly deserving of a second chance. So I hope you'll consider giving that to him. Now, they let me talk about politics sometimes, the second half of my show, and I wanted to talk about something that came up this week in the Kidneyverse, and I wanted to make you aware of it. This week, a group from the American Association of Kidney Patients and the Renal Physicians Association, the RPA, did some advocacy on the Hill. And by that I mean, we were doing it remotely, like Zoom conversations and telephone conversations, things of that nature. And I talked to the offices of my representative here in Northern Indiana District Number 1, Pete Visklowski's office, Michael from his office. I talked to Senator Braun's office, directly to Senator Braun and his man Riley. And I spoke also to Senator Todd Young's office and his representative, a lady named Hitchcock. And we spoke at length about a couple of things. And the main thing that I want to talk about tonight is the Immunosuppressant Drug Act. And what this is all about is that once you get a transplant, you are covered by Medicare for your anti-rejection medications for 36 consecutive months. After that period of time, you either have to find additional coverage somewhere else or you're on your own. And those rejection medications can be very expensive. They run as high as $2,400 a month or so. And you might be asking, what happens to those people that, they can't afford that amount of money to pay for their rejection medications? Well, eventually their kidneys reject and they end up, by and large, back on dialysis. The rejection medications, again, are about $2,400 a month. Dialysis per patient per year is almost 90 grand a year. So there's a big difference there, like, $2,400 a month and $90,000 a year. And recently the Office of Budgets came out with a figure that over a period of 10 years, if Medicare were to cover everybody that is a kidney transplant patient, that would save Medicare and the taxpayers approximately $73 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. We're a large part, us kidney patients, of Medicare's budget, almost 6%. So, any rate, the reason I wanted to bring this up is I had a conversation directly with Senator Braun. He's one of our senators from here in Indiana. And this week, after our conversation, he decided to co-sponsor the Immunosuppressant Drug Act. And that's great because we have a clean sweep now in Indiana. Our representative here in my district, Pete Visklowski, both of my senators, Senator Braun and Senator Young, have agreed to co-sponsor. What that means in plain English is that if it comes up for a vote, they're going to vote yes. And that's a benefit to all of the kidney transplant patients in the United States that are on, well, we're all on anti-rejection medication. So I just wanted to give a big shout out and a thank you to Senator Michael Braun for supporting us and for taking care of kidney patients. Now, if we could just get everybody on the same page with the Living Donor Protection Act, we would have it made. That means that your employer and your insurance company can't discriminate against you if you want to be a donor. And of course, because of the discrepancies that we have, 100,000 people on the waiting list, 20,000 people last year, both approximate numbers, actually got transplanted. That leaves a big number that didn't. And just like Josh says, we lose 12, 13 people every month. And like every 10 minutes, someone else gets on that list. So those numbers just go up. And with this COVID thing, one of the things that the virus attacks is your kidney. And there's an awful lot of acute kidney injury out there. There's so much right at the moment that I don't really think they know how many additional kidney patients and potential transplant patients we have. But I promise you one thing, that number's only going to go up. Okay, so Living Donor Protection Act. If you have employment, they can't keep you from donating. They can't change your employment status. They can't change your benefits if you donate. The Family Medical Leave Act applies, so you would get time off to donate under that act. It's a non-paid leave, but your employer can't penalize you. And I think it's 10 weeks, 12 weeks in a period of a year, something like that, if memory serves. Insurance companies are notorious for canceling people that want to donate, raising their rates, changing the quality of their insurance. This applies to your long-term care insurance, nursing home disability type insurance, your disability insurance, and your life insurance. So we definitely want to see that act passed as well, because we want to encourage donation, right? We need more donors, guys like Josh, guys like me. We rely on people to either donate live or donate posthumously. So, when you see these things come up from the AAKP or from the National Kidney Foundation, where they're asking you to fill out a simple form, 2 minutes, and they'll take care of everything else. They'll make sure it gets to your congressman. They'll make sure it gets to both your senators, right? And so that they know your position on that. And even in the form, you get a chance to say what you think. Okay, it's just not, give them my name, my address, fill out a form, and away it goes. You do get a chance to tell them how important this is to you. Okay, so you want to make sure to do that when you see it, because it's very important to all of us that are on that list. And you might have noticed I haven't done a lot lately because of the virus, but last year I did quite a bit of walking to remind people about that transplant list. And the reason I did it is there's too many of us that wait on that list and pass away. Good friends. My friend Bill Murray was one of those people. My friend Bill Hahn from Florida, one of the greatest kidney advocates I ever met, passed away. So please, when you see those things, don't hesitate to fill them out. Don't hesitate to contact your representatives. Don't hesitate to contact your senators. It's a simple thing. It takes 2-3 minutes and it's over with. You can even ask them to send you a written response, and they will do that. Their offices will do that. Next week, on the 8th, my friend Curtis Warfield and I are doing a Twitter chat about exactly that, how to advocate, what advocacy is all about, how to reach your members of Congress, and what to do. So, in a nutshell, right? Always tell your story. They will remember your story. A health liaison will remember almost 100% of your kidney story. The actual member of Congress will remember about 84%. That's what sticks with them. Okay, is your story, not so much the legal stuff, not that kind of jazz, not so much the things you leave behind. You always have written material from your groups that you leave behind, but your story, your kidney story, like Josh told us tonight. So you be sure you want to do that and getting in touch with these guys. It's not that hard. Okay, every single one of these guys has a Facebook. Almost every single one of these guys is on Twitter. Almost every single one of these guys is on Instagram. And I'll tell you what I do when something comes up. I see a story, I see an article, I see a letter to the editor, like Mary Balaker wrote yesterday. Well, be sure you check out Mary's page, right? That editorial's on her. It's dynamite. Send that to them. Send them a link. Contact them. Let them know how you feel. We're a voting bloc, kidney voters, and they'll pay attention to you. And be sure to do that. All right? Always do that. And if you have questions, you have problems, you have issues, you come find your Uncle Jim. I got a footprint on social media that's huge. You have right? Jim Myers, Facebook, MYER, Active Stories on Twitter, Active Stories on Instagram. Come find me if you need help. I will help you. Okay? All right? I promise I will help you. Okay. That's our show for tonight. I'm working on some guests for the end of the month. I hope, fingers crossed, to have another excellent kidney story for you. And we will see you the last Friday of July. Peace and stay safe from the COVID, my friends. We'll talk soon. I'm out.
I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people who have not kept them.